We are going to make some cheesy breadsticks using one of my French bread recipes. I do have it online. I will put my little website down below in the description. This recipe is super easy and it's super versatile. You can almost use it for any kind of bread making things. Like I do really big French loaves with it, which is what I created it originally for. I have made hoagie rolls out of it, little sandwich rolls, and today I am using it for some homemade cheese sticks. I made some homemade chili this week for my lunches, and I would really love some cheesy breadsticks to go with it. I'm gonna cheat and just use string cheese in the middle. So all I have to do is just make my dough, and then I will roll it out, put the cheese in it, pop in the oven, bam, cheese sticks, we're done. Let me show you how I make it. I'm also cheating and using my KitchenAid today with my dough hook so I don't have to sit here and stir it forever and ever and ever. So we're going to start with our warm water, 2 1/4 cup. Then I'm going to put my sugar in too, and then we'll add the yeast. Let that all sit for a few minutes and kind of let the yeast activate and come to life. I like putting the sugar in with the water because it kind of feeds the yeast in a sense. Make sure your water is not too hot or you will kill your yeast, and if your water is too cold then it will not activate. You'll start seeing some bubbly action on top, and that is your clue that your yeast is live and active and that your bread will rise. We're gonna go in and do 2 tablespoons of sugar. And that is literally all the sugar I'll need for this recipe, so this can go away. And then my yeast. I wanna do 1 whole tablespoon of yeast. Just gonna mix this up a little bit so the sugar is kind of dissolved in there. And now we're just going to sprinkle the yeast on top of the water mixture. Like I said, we're doing a whole tablespoon. And just sprinkle it. Now we're gonna let it sit. The yeast is active and ready to go. I am lopsided here. We're gonna go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of oil, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we're gonna slowly start adding in our flour. It should be about 5 cups, and then we're gonna save that last cup for kneading right at the end. I do a little disclaimer here because that is technically not how you're supposed to be measuring out flour. Let me show you how you're supposed to measure out flour. But I have done so much baking over the years. I've been baking since I was 15 years old. I've been in cooking classes, catering for a while, and so I know when I need to add a little bit more flour and when not to. So I don't waste my time measuring this way, but let me show you the correct way that you are supposed to measure out flour. So technically, you would spoon it into your cup. Okay, just like so, right? And then you're gonna take a flat side or a butter knife, and you're going to make sure it's all the way across and then scoop it off. Now technically this is exactly perfectly 1 cup of flour. Me scooping it like that is packing the flour into the cup, and therefore it may not exactly be 1 cup, it may be a little bit more. So if you want to be super accurate, make sure you do it this way. Unless you have lots of baking experience and you already know what you're doing, then measure it however the fuck you want to. You always want to add in the flour super slowly so that way you can make sure all the ingredients are getting thoroughly mixed in. Here's number. As you can see, it's slowly starting to pull away from the bowl, but it's still very, very sticky. Here's number 5. Turn your dough out onto a floured surface, and now we are going to knead it. Now, kneading it is essentially the funnest part in my opinion because you get to play with the dough. We're going to do a lot of handling with it. This is going to help to develop those air pockets for the yeast gases to start expanding. So those are all the little pockets that you see in your bread when you cut into it, and it also helps develop the gluten. I mean, you just knead it. And we're gonna add this last cup in slowly, and then we'll kind of see where our texture is at. This is about where I want my dough to be at. And I didn't use, that's about a half a cup left over. But you also have to remember that I sprinkled the countertop with flour to make sure it didn't stick. So it did pick up some of that, but we want to work this dough for a few minutes. And if it's starting to get sticky again, then you add some, but this is no big deal. We don't want it, that's too sticky, but this is not so bad. If we need a little bit more, we can just sprinkle some on while we're working with it. All right, I am happy with this consistency. This recipe is pretty versatile, at least for my family. I know sometimes people will have different bread recipes for, you know, their bread or their hoagie rolls, and sometimes I do like different consistencies. Sometimes I do want more of like a fluffier bun, but this is my go-to recipe when I just need to whip something out really quick and make whatever I want with it, because it is really easy to do. And normally, like, so when I created this recipe, it was mostly for like French bread, because I really love French bread. I love cutting it up, and you can use it with any dinner essentially. You know, you can put cheese on it, you can do like a sour cream butter mixture, basil, chives, you can put any kind of toppings on it that you want to. And so this recipe makes 2 decent sized French bread rolls. You can do like 8 hoagie rolls, like sandwich rolls. You can do more like buns. That would probably be more like 16. Is that what my recipe says? Yeah, 16 like bun size. What I'm doing for this today though is I'm going to split it in half. I'm going to do some hoagie rolls, and then I'm going to do some cheese sticks, because I want cheese sticks with the chili that I made this week. And I have string cheese, and that's just mozzarella that I'm going to just open up and use. So I'm going to cut this in half, and I will form some hoagie rolls on one pan, and then the rest I'm going to separate out. I'm not quite sure, because I don't want my breadsticks super bready. I want them like cheesy, like pull apart cheesy. So I'm gonna have to look. I think I'm gonna try to do 12 cheese sticks with half of this, and we'll see how that turns out. I've made this before, but I didn't count how many cheese sticks I made with it. I was just going for it, and I don't remember how many I made. So let's see. Let's cut this in half. I'm gonna make some hoagie rolls for sandwiches later, and then the rest I will show you how I make cheese sticks with. You have to remember, when this rises, it'll get about twice the size. There's a lot of yeast in here. So they may look small right now, but after they rise, which you'll see, they're quite big. So don't be concerned when you see how small my hoagie rolls look, okay? trying to make them as even as possible. That's why I keep remaking my rounds here. That was not even at all. Now, I'm not really concerned. I know I said that these will get bigger, and my original recipe does say to use the whole recipe for 8, but I'm still making 8 hoagie rolls using half the recipe. And like I said, I'm going to use the other half for my cheese sticks. And while these will rise some, they won't be like Subway style hoagie rolls. They will still be kind of small, but that's okay. That's what I'm wanting. I don't need, my family does not need to have a giant sandwich every single night for dinner. We can add other things with it, like potato salad, a bag of chips, beans, rice, any kind of noodles. Like, it's not the, doesn't have to be the main course. So I'm okay with the hoagie rolls being a little bit smaller. Now we're just going to form them. Just make them kind of look like little hot dogs. Oh, don't forget to oil your pan just in case. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at right now. And I know it does not look impressive. Don't freak out. Trust the process. Okay? I want to make sure they're long. Because like I said, they will fluff up. And they do kind of shrink down a little bit, as you can, I don't know if you can see it over there. As I'm working with it, I'm stretching it. The gluten is kind of like shrinking back into itself, so it's pulling it back together. That's why I'm trying to make it so long. Otherwise, I'm going to end up more with like buns. And honestly, I don't care. They all eat the same. It doesn't really matter to me what shape they're in. But for the sake of the video, I was trying to make cute little hoagie rolls. And no, these are not going to be perfect. I have never been one to care much about, I mean, you're just eating it. It's going in, it's giving your body the nutrients it needs. Sure, sometimes it's nice to make like appealing food items, like when you have color schemes in there and it makes it look all nice and pretty, or if you're doing parties or something. But I typically am just here to feed my family in the easiest way possible. So these will not all be perfect, and we don't care, so you shouldn't either. Some might end up being a little bit bigger than the others too, even though I tried to make them even. But that's okay. We'll just make sure when I'm cooking them that they're all done in the middle. Like, I'll check the biggest ones, you know. If I need to pull out the smaller ones because they're done, then we can always do that. That's no big deal. Almost there. I'm gonna go through and kind of play with them a little bit to get the right shape again. To let them rise for an hour. Now it is time for the cheese sticks. So I'm going to take the other half of my recipe, and I'm not going to sit here and spend my time rolling it out. I'm honestly just going to separate it out and work with it. The longest time will probably be opening all of these cheese sticks individually and taking the wrappers off. I probably should have just gotten a brick of mozzarella, but this is what I have in my fridge. This is what I'm going to use. Got our cheese stick and our dough, and like I said, I'm not going to roll any of this out. We're just going to form it around the cheese stick, okay? And it's tacky enough, it'll kind of stick together, the dough will. If you add too much flour, then it will not. So that's why it's important to make sure you're not adding too much flour. You're going to kind of roll it together to get rid of those seams. And like I said, I want this more cheesy than doughy, so you will be able to feel the cheese stick through this dough. Like, the dough is super, super thin, but remember, it also has to sit for an hour to rise. So it will rise a little bit. Okay, ain't it cute? Okay, we're gonna do that with the rest of them. Put them in your greased pan. They look like. I'm going to clean up and I'll see you back in an hour. Okay, an hour has passed. This is what our cheese sticks and our hoagie rolls are looking like. Now, I do want that nice golden brown topping, so I'm gonna take an egg yolk and like a splash of water, like a tablespoon of water. You mix it up really good and then you just brush the top with it. And then I'm gonna put it in the oven separately because I want them to cook evenly for 350 degrees. You know, I think I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of Parmesan to these cheese sticks too. Okay, these are ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with my egg wash on these. And I'll show you what everything looks like when it comes out of the oven. And of course, I'm gonna do a pull test on my cheese sticks. As you can see, my recipe book is rather sad. It's been a long time since I've created a new recipe and I should probably start playing in the kitchen again. I do have a cleaner copy of this on my website and I'll put it down below. Like I said, it's super easy, super versatile. You can do endless toppings on it, honestly. Finished product for the breadsticks. They look super yummy. They smell super yummy. Here are the hoagie rolls. Okie doke. There you go. We are done in the kitchen for now until dinner. Here are my cheese sticks and my hoagie rolls. As you can see, I already am making a sandwich for my lunch and I will have these for later this week for dinner. As always, thank you guys for joining me, and if there's any recipes that you want me to try on here, put the comment down below and I'll give her a go.